Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his rival Benny Gantz are in Washington. These are seen as historic talks with President Donald Trump. On agenda is the West Asia plan of the American president. He welcomed the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House earlier.
Mr. President, what's your response to the Bolton manuscript, and does this increase the chances he could be called to testify?
Maybe he does, and I think in terms of his opponent, he does too. I'll be meeting with him in a little while. But this is a plan that's very important to peace in the Middle East. No matter where I went, they say Israel and the Palestinians, they have to make peace before you can really have peace in the Middle East. So people have been working on this for many, many years, and I think we're relatively close, but we have to get other people to agree with it also. I will say many of the Arab nations have agreed to it. They like it. They think it's great. They think it's a big start. I think it's a big start, too. I think it's a fantastic thing if we can pull it off. They say it's probably the most difficult deal anywhere and of any kind to make. In the business world, when I was back in the business world, when a deal was tough, people would jokingly refer to it as this is tougher than Israel and the Palestinians getting together. And that's what I've heard all my life. And so we'll see what happens. We have something that makes a lot of sense for everybody. And we appreciate you being here. And Mr. Prime Minister, great job you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. President, I just want to say two things. First, that the deal of the century is the opportunity of the century, and we're not going to pass it by. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. Today, I repeat, I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for the State of Israel. You've been the greatest friend that Israel has had in the White House. And I think tomorrow we can continue making history. Thank you, Mr. President.
I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, did you speak to the Palestinians about your plan, to the Palestinian president? Because there are reports...
We will be reporting on that tomorrow. It's something they should want. They probably won't want it initially, but I think in the end they will. I think in the end they're going to want it. It's very good for them. In fact, it's overly good to them. So we'll see what happens. Now, without them, we don't do the deal, and that's okay. They're not living well. As you know, we cut off aid to Palestinians, and something I don't like to do, but we did that. And we think that there's a very good chance that they're going to want this. I would say their initial, just as great negotiators, and they are great negotiators, their initial response, and I have no idea what they're going to say, would be, oh, we don't want anything. But in the meantime, they'll be negotiating. So let's see how it works. So tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we'll be announcing a plan, and it's a very big plan. It will be a suggestion between Israel and the Palestinians. It's the closest it's ever come, and we'll see what happens. We have the support of the Prime Minister. We have the support of the other parties. And we think we will ultimately have the support of the Palestinians, but we're going to see. And if we do, it'll be a tremendous tribute to everybody. And if we don't, life goes on. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Mr. President, what about the allegations of the Bolton? False.
What we just witnessed were the visuals of Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the U.S. President Donald Trump meeting. On the table is Trump's West Asia plan. A lot of speculation doing the rounds over what would be in it and what's on the cards. Netanyahu believes it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that Israel should not miss out on. Trump's West Asia plan is expected to be extremely favorable to Israel. The talks are scheduled to be held formally over the next few hours. Let's listen in now to what Netanyahu had to say before he left for the United States.
אנחנו בעיצומם של אירועים מדיניים מאוד דרמטיים, אבל השיא עוד לפנינו. בעוד זמן קצר יצא לוושינגטון. יפגש מחר עם ידידי נשיא ארצות הברית דונלד טראמפ, שיציג את תוכנית המאה שלו. אני חושב שפעם אחת בהיסטוריה יש הזדמנות כזאת, ואסור לנו להחמיץ אותה. במשך 3 שנים אני משוחח עם הנשיא טראמפ ועם צוותו על הצרכים הביטחוניים והלאומיים שלנו. עשרות רבות של שיחות, מאות שעות. אני מצאתי בכל השיחות הללו אוזן קשבת בבית הלבן לצרכים החיוניים של מדינת ישראל. אני יוצא לוושינגטון בתחושת שליחות גדולה, אחריות גדולה והזדמנות גדולה. ואני מלא תקווה שנוכל לעשות היסטוריה.
Benny Gantz, Benjamin Netanyahu's rival, is also in Washington. He has already turned down a joint appearance with Netanyahu at the White House, fearing that the Prime Minister might use it as an opportunity to try and upstage himself. After the meeting, Gantz is expected to return to Israel with his plans in the parliament to block a request by Netanyahu calling for immunity from prosecution. And joining us on the broadcast this minute is our correspondent Kate Fisher, live from Washington, D.C. Kate, we just listened in to what the president had to say while sitting beside the Israeli leader. Talk us through what we have been able to gather so far in terms of what the talks could focus on primarily and what could be a part of West Asia plan of Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, the details of this grand plan have remained under wraps for essentially many years. When Donald Trump became US president, he said that he would find a way to bring peace to the Middle East between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And this is the result of that statement. We don't know the details exactly. They are due to be published tomorrow, as you say, on Tuesday here. We have got some idea of what it will entail, though, and it appears to be that it will be very positive for the Israelis. There are expected to be no calls for a two-state solution. There are expected to be no part of it where they suggest returning East Jerusalem back to the Palestinians. So it looks like it will be much more in the Israelis' favour than the Palestinians. And of course, the Palestinians have said that they will reject it out of hand anyway because they have not been consulted on any part of it. Relations between the Palestinians and the Trump administration, of course, deteriorated significantly after Donald Trump decided to move the US embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, which the Palestinians considered to be incredibly insensitive to them, and they at that point stopped talking to the Trump administration. So although this is supposedly a peace plan to bring together the Israelis and the Palestinians have not had any input in it. So that is a big concern. There's also concern surrounding the timing of this meeting at the White House. You have both Benjamin Netanyahu and his political opponent Benny Gantz here. This is during the Senate impeachment trial of President Trump. It's also just ahead of an election in Israel between Benny Gantz and Benjamin Netanyahu being the two frontrunners there. This is the third election they've had where they still haven't managed to create a parliament out of it. And there is, there is suspicions from many analysts that the timing of this has been called to serve both Donald Trump by giving a distraction to his impeachment proceedings and to serve Benjamin Netanyahu to give him something of an electoral boost because most Israelis are very pro-Donald Trump.
Right, and before we let you go, Kate, there was the talk of a possible joint appearance as far as the two Israeli leaders are concerned, but that's totally been ruled out given the friction between the two, of course, and also a very interesting report talking about how Benny Gantz was concerned that this could be used as an opportunity by Benjamin Netanyahu to upstage him.
That's right. I think there are many concerns from him and his advisors that this kind of trip would make him look like the lesser statesman. It would look like Benjamin Netanyahu was travelling and he was just kind of thought as an add-on to this. And we understand that he initially did not want to accept the invitation of Donald Trump because of that reason. But then he realised that actually Such is the popularity of President Trump and such is the need for a good relationship with the United States that he realised he really had no choice than to come and meet him. But yes, he's going to be very aware of the optics, what this looks like to voters back home, and he will not want any potential photo opportunities where he looks like the kind of a junior statesman as opposed to a potential new leader for Israel.